In this video, I'm going to give you 6 super easy techniques to keep your feet warm when you're camping, hiking, and backpacking in the outdoors, especially when it's super cold. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. I've been to a lot of cold places, and I'm going to give you 6 of these quick techniques to keep your feet warm when it's cold. The first is when you get to camp, make sure to take out the liners out of your boots. Even if you're just using a basic boot and you've got a liner here, taking the liner out makes a huge difference in the warmth of your feet, because these insoles get wet over the day just because your feet naturally sweat, and as a consequence you're keeping this cold, wet sole in your boot, which gets the whole inside wet. And in the morning, if it was super cold, you're literally putting your feet on ice before you get started, so that will really freeze your foot or your feet. The really best way to do this is get this insole out, stuff it in your sleeping bag, find it inside your sleeping bag, and literally sleep with your stinky soles inside of there, because that's how you get them dry. Also, if you have ski boots like these guys, you definitely want to take the insoles out, because these things can get soaking wet when you're skiing all across the world, wherever you might be, or your climbing boots. Get these guys out and also stuff them into your bag, and it'll make a world of difference. The second thing is to make sure to stay off the ground as much as possible when you're in your tent. See, right now I'm on my Z-Rest here in my tent. I'm going to show you here. I've got my Z-Rest, and what I do is once I get into camp, I keep my feet off the ground. I mean, obviously this is a pretty small tent, but whatever I do, I keep my feet off the ground and my knees and legs off the ground 100%. I treat the ground as though it's made out of boiling lava, or it's going to instantly freeze my skin. By keeping my feet off of the ground the entire time, I prevent that slow aching coldness that can develop in a tent as you're sleeping at night, just keeping your feet off the ground. Now, once you get into your sleeping bag, do everything you can to keep your feet off the ground, because if you're laying down and you've got your feet on ice or on the ground, I promise you'll freeze your feet. In fact, I've known some explorers, they've actually frozen their heel. It's been horrible to see the pictures of that. So whatever you do, put an extra bag, a hat, anything under your feet to keep them absolutely off the ground. The next tip is to use a vapor barrier liner. In this case, I've got the VBL Hot Sack from Western Mountaineering. I'll put a link below to this. This third tip is if you're in really cold or moist, humid conditions. This VBL Hot Sack actually is used, and you can just totally open it here. As you open this and you literally wriggle into this thing, it's not terribly comfortable, but when it's freezing, I've used it in Antarctica before when I was crazy cold, and you just simply open this thing up. It's basically, it turns you into a big old hot dog, and then you get into your sleeping bag with it, and it's a bit of a production. As you can see, I just literally put it in my sleeping bag, and then I just wriggle in there. And what this vapor barrier liner does is it keeps virtually all the heat with this Mylar liner inside, and it keeps your feet super warm. The one big downside to these vapor barrier liners is that you're going to be clammy at night. So the only reason I use vapor barrier liners is if it's minus 50 or I'm sick or whatever the case is. That vapor barrier liner really is a last resort for me, so it's more of an emergency thing. The fourth tip is to keep your tent windows open at night. Now, here's one that's going to mess with your mind. I've taken the fly off at the moment just so you can see what I'm doing with my tent, but keeping your tent doors open at night will actually keep you warm, and not because, I'm going to just put this up real quick, and not because of the reason you might think, like, oh, Aaron, that's a really dumb idea, I'm going to click away. But no. In fact, the reason you keep your door open at night, maybe just keep it unzipped just a little bit here, I want to show you, so your head can stick out here, is you let the humidity out of the tent. Because what happens is when you're in your tent and you think, oh, it's cold, I'm going to seal everything up, your respiration, the moisture that you breathe out of your body, and the transpiration, the sweat, the steam that you give off in your body begins coating the tent. And if that steam and respiration, basically water vapor, has no place to go, it's going to begin coating your tent, your sleeping bag, and then your feet. And everything will get frosty and cold. So literally, when I was in Antarctica, I kept both doors open on the ends, not in this tent, obviously, but in my Hilleberg GT, that thing was just awesome. And my Namage, that just keep the windows open, and it actually keeps you warmer because the breeze comes through, it keeps the environment in the tent dry, and it makes a big difference. The fifth tip I'm going to give you is change your sleeping bag. Now, this is not an inexpensive activity. Most of you might have a microfiber and extreme light fiber bag. This is a Mega Light from Western Mountaineering, and it has served me very well. It's rated to 25 or 30 degrees, depending on what year I bought it a long time ago. And I've used this down to 5 degrees. I was pretty chilly, but that was not the best choice. So when I need to go to extreme conditions and extreme temperatures, I switch out to something like this Western Mountaineering Puma bag, which is a Gore Wind Stop fabric. And I've got a link below to another video I did, a comparison between Wind Stop, Extreme Light, and then microfiber bags. If you really are going to go into cold conditions, get this Gore Wind Stop. It will help keep your feet warm because it will keep the rest of your body warm. And the sixth tip I have for this video is wear an extra hat. And not just an extra hat, maybe a neck gaiter or maybe something else. Never go to bed with your head uncovered in cold conditions because you lose much of your body heat through your head. Your head is so small, relatively my head's pretty big, but by just putting this hat on, I'm already broiling with my 40 below booties here. It makes a huge difference. And if you're really cold, get a neck gaiter like this Arctic Buff from Buff. I put this thing on my neck and then I put my hat on. And then if it's really cold, I have a knit hat that was made for me. And then if it's absolutely freezing, I will put my super hat on. Now, this looks a little silly, but I promise you I've been in minus 50 degree temperatures, 30, 40, and 50 knot winds in Antarctica and the Arctic with this hat combination and this neck gaiter on. And whoa, it was hotter than heck. See, the Eskimos or Native Alaskans have a saying, if your feet are cold, put a hat on. If your feet are still cold, put another hat on. Because when you're freezing and your feet are cold and you can't get to sleep, you will pay anything and you will look kind of dorky, but you won't care when your feet are warm using these 6 techniques I've given you in this video. My name's Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. Please like and comment on the video, and if you found it useful, subscribe to the channel. Links to all items displayed in this video below. Thank you very much for watching. Check out this entire series of 15 videos on how to keep your feet warm while camping. Thank you very much for watching, and stay warm out there.